the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
Hello, 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 hello. Ryan Roxie here, and welcome to another live stream episode of In the Trenches. This is our weekly podcast, and today's a great one because not for a couple reasons. You know what? This is the first podcast that we've done, I think, this entire year. Maybe we did one in New Zealand or Australia where we were on the road, but I am actually on the road. I'm in an undisclosed Los Angeles hotel, basically just staying in the hotel because there's nothing going on outside. When I walk up and down the street, it feels like I'm breaking the law, right? So it doesn't matter because this is the place to be right now. You know, whether you're watching in the chat right now on YouTube Live or Facebook Live, if you are on our official YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button that's right around there that Vic will put up. There you go. That subscribe button will give you all the updates to all our future podcasts and live streams. But guess what? You don't want to be anywhere else except right here, right now. Because our guest today, I talk about how I've played in 100 bands and maybe you heard of 2 or 3 of them. Well, our guest today has played in about the same amount of bands, but you know a hell of a lot more of them. And we're going to talk about all of them today. Well, maybe not all of them, because that's a hell of a lot of bands, but we're going to talk about most of them because our guest today is a true pioneer of punk rock and heavy metal. Guitarist Ross Friedman, but you know him better as Ross the Boss. Welcome to In the Trenches, Ross.
Ryan, thank you for having me. Thank you.
That's a very nice New York welcome. Thank you very much.
Greetings from Queens.
Oh, nice, man. What part of Queens? Are you in LIC or Astoria?
I'm in Rego Park.
Ooh, man,
Rego Park. Why it's called Rego Park. The first construction company that was building buildings around here, they were called the Real Good Construction Company. And
okay.
that's where we got Rego Park from. My neighbor told me that. I go,
yeah. You know what makes the cement stronger is all the fucking bodies. So is that the N or the R train or is that the 7? What is it up there?
R train, F train.
Okay. All right. When I was living out in New York, it was LIC, Long Island City, Sunnyside, Queens, where I lived. Now I couldn't even afford to take the subway there because it's so damn expensive and high rent, man.
Well, things are changing.
They are changing. But you know what? The thing I like about it is that some things change, but a lot of things stay the same. And you, my friend, you have been a tried and true rock and roll guitarist forever. You know what I'm saying? You are an institution, Ross the Boss. And that's where we start our podcast with. We have a section called Let's Go Back to Get Forward. All right. So I just want to recap a little bit. And everybody that's in the chat, you'll see comments coming up. Thank you very much for showing up in the chat today. Again, if you are listening to this on one of the audio broadcasts, which is Apple or Spotify or any of those, pull your car over or stop what you're doing and get on the YouTube official Ryan Roxie channel, because guess what? The chat's where it's at. And we are here with Ross the Boss. And obviously you can hear from the accent. You grew up in New York City, didn't you?
The Bronx.
You grew up in the Bronx. But here's what I found a little bit interesting. You started out as a violin, piano prodigy.
Yes.
All right. So, how did you find the guitar, or better yet, how did the guitar find you?
You know what? I found myself, I was 13 years old. I was in junior high school. I was playing, I picked up violin. I moved up to first violin, right? I'm so, okay, I'm learning. I'm very, very adept at it. And I'm looking at myself, I go, boy, you are a nerd. I mean, I was just a Jewish kid from the Bronx and a nerd playing violin. And I'm going, if you want to get someplace, especially with your female friends, I think you might think about changing your mode of operandi. And I was looking at Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Jim Morrison and everything of my time. And I said, you know what? I think I might be trying to switch to guitar. Might be a better path for me. And I went out, my grandmother, we went to the music store, we bought a guitar, acoustic guitar, and I took it from there.
There you go. I got my acoustic with me right now today. And I see in your man cave, you have more than just one guitar.
Yeah.
What is your go-to The one just right off the bat, because we do have a lot of musicians that are watching in the chat right now. What's your go-to in that arsenal right there?
Well, I just got the Rosterborg Grossman, this guitar company from Romania, Grossman,
Nice.
and made me my own guitar, and it's like it's like a Maserati SG. I mean, like the ESP Vipers are SGs on steroids. This thing is SG on like
Crack.
3 rods, springs through the body. This thing
Love
is
it.
stable. Great guitar.
Great. So when did that come out?
He made me like 2 years ago. He made it for me, and guys have been buying them off him. And
All right.
great guitar.
Cool. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the equipment a little bit later, but you know what? I want to keep on with the, going back to get forward, and I'll bring us up a little fast forward up into the early 70s. I think 1973 to be exact. Is 1973? Is that when you met Andy Shirnoff and sort of decided to create this punk rock band that sort of thumbed their nose at everybody and at anybody that would listen? I want to hear how the Dictators came about and what the scene was like in those early 70s.
Well, we were up we were up in New Paltz College, State University, New Paltz. It's up the New York State Thruway, 70 miles up from New York City. So we were like, and New Paltz was known as a party town, and I had a band. My high school band was called Total Crud, and we were in this band. I was in this band, and it was a good band, and we would play all these parties, and it was just like freaking out, and it was just quaaludes and drugs, and it was just like it was insanity in New Paltz. And so Andy, big Jufro, big hair, would come to the shows and say, man. And one time he grabbed me and go, you're a great guitar player, but you know what? You want to form a band? You want to do something different? I go, yeah, I want to do something different. I go, well, why don't we just form a band? So me and Andy decided to form a band, and so I left the crud, and I got a house in a cornfield in the middle of nowhere, because I figured we'd be so horrible. I don't want to scare you.
A step up from Total Crud. I like the fact that you low expectations with a name like Total Crud. People go in with low expectations, and then they go, "Hey, these guys are pretty good."
Yeah, we were very good. We were a pretty good band, and so Andy and I form a band. We get Scott Kempner from the Bronx, another Bronx boy. He comes up, plays rhythm. I'm playing lead, and we never had an official drummer, so we got a drummer from Poughkeepsie. He would drive in. And, Andy was a rock writer. He was a journalist, and he had his own fanzine called the Teenage Wasteland Gazette. And he had friends that would write in, like, and one of his friends was Richard Meltzer, a writer called Richard Meltzer. And Richard Meltzer wrote for Crawdaddy and Rolling Stone and Cream,
right.
and he also wrote lyrics for the Blue Oyster Cult. So
that Blue Oyster Cult intertwined so much in and out of your career, and how I always say, be cool with the people that you're playing with right now, because they're going to lead you to your next gig. And somehow Blue Oyster Cult has always been around in the picture. But like you were saying about getting that good press, I mean, to be press darlings in especially those magazines at those times, Cream magazine, Rolling Stone, that was basically having like 1 million Instagram followers today, right?
It was good. I mean, we had a lot of critics. I mean, we had a lot of. Robert Christgau panned our first record. I mean, he destroyed us. We were like heartbroken. And then a couple of years later, he recants his review and posts an amazing review.
Yeah.
Of Dictators. Real crazy. So, I mean,
Wasn't the beauty about the Dictators, though, is that you didn't take it so seriously that you just said, screw it. If you hate us, you hate us. If you love us, you're going to really like us.
That's right. That was the 6-man lineup with Mendoza on the left, who later went to join Twisted Sister.
And I heard that small term, and it's a very loving term, by the way, folks, Jufro, that you said early. I guess it's 2020, and maybe we'll both get canceled because of that little short term. But you know what? That is great hair, dude. It's great big hair. I even had a back in those days, I wanted to have what was it called? A permanent? When you get, I actually wanted my hair to be curly. You
like
know?
Captain. He had that. He had that
Love it.
at one point. He wanted to be in Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Wow. So the Dictators, you guys are still playing today, which is, again, another theme that's going to be reoccurring. And there you go. There's a question right out of the gate. Vic, do you want to put that up on the chat? Because we have some great questions coming in from the chat.
Carousel Vertigo. No, thank you for the question. No, we never played on Uncle Floyd. I know the remote did, though.
Carousel Vertigo is denied on that. That should have been one of our fact or fictions, Vic. That's a whole other section too. But what you guys are doing is that from the Dictators, you get hired for your guitar playing ability, your lead guitar playing ability to a band called Shakin' Street.
Right.
And that led you on to a tour that was it with Blue Oyster Cult again, or was it with a Dio, or who was it with?
Black Sabbath featuring Ronnie Dio, the first Heaven and Hell tour.
Right. That's where you met bassist Joey DeMaio.
Right.
And was it actually, is it true that Ronnie James Dio introduced you, or how did you all meet?
No, it's correct. Right after my sound check in Newcastle City Hall, Ronnie comes up to me and goes, Ross, I think you're a great guitar player, and I know the Dictators, I know New York scene and CBGBs and all that. It's great, fantastic, and blah 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 blah. But by the way, I have a friend on the road crew. His name is Joey DeMaio, and I think you guys would hit it off. He plays bass, unlike nobody you ever seen play bass before. And I go, okay, yes sir, Mr. Dio, come on. So as soon as the sound check was over, I put my guitar down, I sought Joey out, and we became friends, and we started jamming in Black Sabbath's dressing rooms on the tour, and then
well, isn't that the thing? Like, people say punk rock is about, it's all attitude and not a lot of talent. But the thing is, the Dictators, especially with your guitar playing and the other musicians, there was a lot of talent in that band, and that's basically what happened with Manowar, is that you transcended punk rock into a more traditional, pioneering heavy metal, but with a very high musicianship, right?
Correct. Yeah. I because I was always like a heavy guitar player growing up. I mean, my influences are from, the English blues wave, Peter Green and Page, Beck, Jimi Hendrix, David Gilmour. I mean, all those guys. I mean, before me I worship them. They're gods to me. And heavy band, heavy music. James Hetfield always said, "You're the heavy guitar player in a punk band, Ross." And I go, "Yeah, basically right." And that's, the move from Dictators to Manowar was just imagery and lyrics. I mean, it was just like 180 degrees apart, but musically it was easy for me.
But the thing I liked about it is that you not only embraced it, you kind of proudly embraced all the cliches of what a heavy metal band is, right? And maybe you invented a few of them. And because I want to talk about some of these cliches that Manowar has always been known for. Because I looked at some, doing research for this episode today, I looked at some clips on YouTube. You guys have like 4 drum kits, you got the Marshall wall, and then you got friggin' motorcycles on stage. So how did all these cliches come up? Was that purposely thought out from the beginning?
Well, the giant equipment was right from the beginning. Was right from the get-go. The day we signed with EMI, we went to Marshall Factory in Hempstead, and I bought 12 bottoms, 7 heads. I mean, and then Joey had 32 15s and 24 12s, and it was
there you go.
It was an insane amount of equipment, and we wanted to present that image as bigger than life, and just like Kiss, I guess would have done, and we wanted to present a big, and we used those amps. Oh boy.
Okay, hold on that picture for a second, folks. Everyone take a screenshot of that, because that would be what a band with 4 Chuck Garricks in it would look like, right there. That's 4 of my bass player in Alice Cooper band that time. I love it. So
I was actually shocked by that picture when he
was?
My son was shocked by that picture.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, I there's some pictures that I have of like back in the day, blonde dreadlocks that my kids go, no, that's definitely not you. It's not you. I know that.
He goes, Dad, thank God you kept your pants on.
All right, we can stop going back to that picture, Vic. I think we've had enough of that. I always ask Vic for a pic, that he doesn't have, and of course, that's the one that he really does have, and he's very proud of it. He's proudly embracing it as well, folks. We are here with Ross, the boss. We've gone through a little bit of the Dictators' history. We are going through Manowar's, your time in Manowar. I always equated Manowar as almost like a Euro band. But you guys are an American heavy metal band. Why do I have that misconception that it is a European band?
Well, because all the fanfare and all the hype was coming from Europe in the beginning, from England mainly when it got it started. We had like Music Maker, Kerrang. We were on the cover of all those magazines, and we had never played there. I mean, and finally we got to play there, and that's why we named our third record "Hail to England."
Aha.
Because that was the country that really, yeah, that's the record. That's
Nice.
my album cover, by the way. That was Ken Landgraf from Marvel Comics drew that, and I mean, I love that.
It looks killer. Well, all your album covers have that. It's either a Manowar album cover or a Fabio book cover. It's one or the other.
No, but we landed in England, right? But then England kind of subsided a little bit, and we went to the mainland. And Germany was actually the country that went berserk for Manowar, and that's where our gold records and all that stuff comes from. And that's where the Germans just went berserk. Then Eastern Europe, and then all of Europe, and then so then South America, and so that's that's the way that happened. So
well, there you have a fellow bass. You have a fellow New Yorker or East Coaster. I don't want to say New Yorker, but Dennis Dunaway, original bass player of Alice Cooper, is tuning in today to the podcast. Did you guys ever play any shows with Alice Cooper back in the day?
The Dictators? I don't think so. We played with. We might have.
All right. Well, we've caught up now to
Dennis. Hello, Dennis. You're a genius, by the way, buddy.
That's awesome.
Love you.
Well, you know what? At one point, we got to get you and Dennis on at the same time. But Manowar, you made 6 albums with them. You make 6 albums with that band. You parted ways after Kings of Metal. And this leads us up to basically, there it is. Look at that. There's another. Man, you guys worked out, or you had really good artists.
Really good artists.
Really good graphic artists. No, but I'm sure you guys worked out as well. And it's bringing us up to the late 80s, which is, kind of my groove. That's when I moved to New York. And I remember it well. And I actually asked my guys in my band, Electric Angels, I emailed them. I said, hey, didn't we play a show with Manitoba's Wild Kingdom? And they were like, no, you just played the shit out of Haircut and an Attitude all the time at the house. I was like, oh, okay, that was it. So you join up with fellow Dictators, Andy, Handsome Dick Manitoba. You form, or you joined up, they had a guitar player, right? And then you joined into Manitoba's Wild Kingdom, right?
Yeah. And he left.
And then you have that you have drummer J.P. Patterson, and you made this album And You. And I think And You had Haircut and an Attitude. Am I right?
Correct.
Such a killer. Just so you know, I listen to that all the time. I know. What was the controversy behind this album cover at the time? Go back to that album cover.
Benito Mussolini on the cover?
Yeah.
That's him?
Think so.
Yeah. Il Duce?
Yeah.
I was telling someone just before, everything that we did was a complete joke. I mean, you can't, nothing we do at the Dictator Camp can be taken seriously, only the music. But, but all that other stuff is like.
Well, if you go back to that album cover, it actually just looks like a penis, right, Vic? Can you go back? Yeah. I don't know if you ever caught that, but it just, it's circumcised at least. There you go.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And Manitoba's Wild Kingdom is managed by Sandy Perlman. Am I correct with that?
Correct for a while. Yep.
For a while. Okay. Again, he's, producing, managing Blue Oyster Cult. Again, Blue Oyster Cult comes around your way and you start playing in a band with Andy Bouchard, who actually plays with Dennis Dunaway right now in Blue Coupe. See how everything's intertwining, folks? It's all intertwining. But we have, you form a band called the Brain Surgeons. And the thing I like about the Brain Surgeons is that go ahead.
Actually, I joined the band. Albert and the Brain Surgeons were recording a few albums before I came on board.
Okay. Well, I was told that Brain Surgeon, a good description was a cross between the Dictators and Cheap Trick. Fair?
Brain Surgeons? Nah, I think the Brain Surgeons are a little more eclectic than that. Eclectic. I think that Albert was just doing what Albert and he was in the band with his wife at that time, Deborah Frost. I mean, I think he was just a little more eclectic. Okay. The Cheap Trick had.
I got. You know what? I got my reference. You're in so many damn bands, Ross the Boss, that I get my descriptions wrong because I'm looking at my notes going, oh shit. And it's just sure once a podcast, I'll completely mess up. But the thing is, that wasn't the band that was a cross between Dictators and Cheap Trick. It was a later band because you're getting in all these bands in the 90s. Dictators are still, making albums, doing tours. You form a couple of bands. One of them is a band called atmidnight.com, which
it's called the Spinatras.
The Spinatras. Okay. Was the album at midnight.com?
That's correct. Very good.
All right. Well, I was just going to say, if you had that name at midnight.com, you would have been really early on the Instagram tags or all that kind of stuff back then.
That right, and the Spinatras were I think I wrote all the music on the record. I thought it was a combination of Cheap Trick meet the Ramones.
There you go. Okay, Cheap Trick meeting the Ramones.
Yeah,
and then there was another band called the Pack.
The Pack, right?
What was the Pack about?
Well, it was basically an '80s thing. We were from the '80s, and it was just all those musicians. When my friends, we went on. We made a band called Heyday.
Okay,
that's in there too. We recorded, and then Spinatras. We got a major label deal, CMC Records, and.
So talk about in the trenches. That's what you're doing, man. You are in the trenches this whole time because you're just playing. And what was income like? Was it about playing any tour you could get on and just making ends meet?
Well, I would do I'm the kind of guy that will do anything to play guitar. I mean, I've been that way since I picked it up. I am the most happy in my life when I'm playing, and I don't care who if I'm playing with my friends, if I'm playing with Manowar in front of 80,000 people, or I'm playing in front of 8 people or 80 people. It doesn't matter to me. I'm the same guy. I mean, as long as I am playing guitar, I am a happy camper, and I've always been that way, and I always will be that way. And hence, I don't stop. I don't stop doing anything. And music is always coming out, and I hit it like it's my last show. It's my last gig. I will give it everything that I have in life because that's just the way I am. And it makes me happy to play music and makes me happy to play music with my friends, which I'm doing.
That's killer. Do you still consciously write something or try to write something, sit down with the guitar every single day? Because I'll be straight up honest with you. There could go days that I don't touch the guitar, but that's just being honest. But when I do, it makes me really happy. But what's your schedule like with your practicing?
Well, sometimes you practice so much, you got to step away from it a little bit,
right?
Get some air on it, air it out a little bit. But I also have different things. Like I have a business. I have a batting cage in Queens. And
baseball.
It's a sports facility, and we've been open for 16 years. So it's been, especially in this lockdown, in this in the shit show we're having. I mean, we work and it's doing well, and inner city kids have to have a place to go to. and do their thing and practice and advance their dreams, and which were there for them. And we're very happy, and we've had success putting kids in college. So I'm constantly busy with that. But at nighttime, me and my partner, we're recording. We're recording every night. So we recorded Death Dealer 3. That's done and out. That was released.
We're going to talk about Death Dealer, yeah.
13th, but we're recording Death Dealer 4 and Death Dealer 5. All those songs are done already.
Yeah.
And then
what is with you New Yorkers, man? You have the same work ethic as Tommy Hendrickson, who's a New Yorker as well, who I play with, and you might know Tommy as well. He is recording and working on songs and stuff every single day. Here I am just trying to figure out my VR headphones and the new podcast platform. But you know what? You're inspiring me right now to pick up a guitar even more. And real quick, what's the name of the batting cage that you have out in the city?
The Cage Baseball. The Cage Baseball. It's on Metropolitan Avenue in Middle Village, Queens. So if you see me, fans come in all the time with their stuff, and I autograph everybody. We take pictures, and it's like, I love baseball, I love softball, and I got cricket players coming in. It's great, and it's a great thing, and it's at least income.
Yeah, no doubt.
Really good, but I do sessions a lot. I work for a lot of record labels, and I just did a thing for Die Krups, in English, German.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. That's more of like an EBM type of music. For those of you that don't know, electric body music, industrial dance. You did a collaboration with them. Wasn't it a Stranglers cover, right?
Yes.
What was that? And how did that come about?
No More Heroes. And I told Jürgen that I knew the Stranglers very well because the Dictators opened their whole UK tour in '77, the No More Heroes tour. So they loved that, the fact that was the case. And I keep busy. I mean, I'm recording tonight. I'll be recording tomorrow night. Sometimes I take a day off at night, but I'm still working every day. So I'll be going in a couple of hours.
Well, hey, man, we appreciate you taking the time out to be in the trenches with us. You are definitely a worthy candidate of being in the trenches, and we really appreciate your time, Ross the Boss. Thank you, everybody that's hanging out in the chat as well. I'm getting towards, there's so many bands, folks. I want to get to Death Dealer because this is the early, all through the aughts. I think maybe you're sticking a little bit more around the East Coast, around the New York area because your son is born and you're maybe hanging out with him growing up and stuff. So all these bands, the all-star heavy metal, sort of an all-star roster featuring yourself, Ross, and then you also have Sean Peck on vocals from Cage and the Three Tremors, and then you also have Stu Marshall on guitar, Dungeon, Steve Bolognese. Is that true? All right, Steve Bolognese.
Bolognese.
I like it. I wonder what nationality he is. And he's played with you in Ross the Boss band as well as in Into Eternity. So. And then you just had a new bass player, Mike LaPond, and he played with Symphony X. Talked a little bit about Death Dealer and how it continues today, and what was the sort of inspiration behind that?
Well, I had done two solo records for AFM for the Ross the Boss band, 2008, New Metal Leader, 2010, Hailstorm, and then I had a German band, and I kind of took a hiatus, thinking that it's time to have an American band, a band closer to where I live and not in Germany. And so, but then I get a call from this guy, Sean Peck. That's true. Thank you. I get a call from Sean Peck, who I've never heard of. I didn't know who he was. And he goes, well, I'm in a band called Cage and, blah, 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 blah. And I want to form a band. I have an idea for a band that's called Death Dealer. And the guitar player was Stu Marshall from Dungeon, from Australia. And I'm going, well, what? I go, and then the second guitar player, it's either going to be you or KK Downing. I go, I think KK Downing, I think he's retired. I think he's amazing. He's incredible. I said, well, it's an honor that you thought of me. He says, well, okay. And he chatted me up, and then, okay. And then Well, we'll speak, Sean. We'll speak. Yeah, that's the current lineup, right? So we'll speak, and then the next thing I know, next day I get a call from this Australian guy with this wonderful Australian accent. His name is Stu. He's the other guitar player. And Mike, you've been my idol since Hail to England and all those blah blah blah. You've influenced me so much. I go, well, thank you, man. And what do you think of the band? I go, well, why don't you send me some songs and I'll tell you what I think. They sent me some songs and I really liked it. And I go, I don't have to be the heavy guy in this band. I don't have to be the guy that does everything in Death Dealer. And I said, wouldn't be like refreshing to join the band like that? I said, yeah, okay, I'm in. So I joined Death Dealer. We recorded 2 records, War Master, I think it was 2012. And then we recorded Hallowed Ground 2015 or 2016, something like that. And finally, the third one has come out
right now.
The third, yeah.
It just came out, right?
Right, that's right. As I said, I'm working on the 4th one.
And after this podcast, you go back in to record the 4th. You're still recording songs for the next 4th Death Dealer album.
5th one exists too. So Sean and Stu have been really, really highly motivated for songs. They've just been spitting these songs out, and I've been adding and Lafon adds, and so we have a lot of material, and I'm writing material for the Roster Boss stuff, and there's just so much stuff.
Come on, shower me with a little bit of that songwriting energy. I need some. I haven't written a song in months, man. You like wrote 5 last week.
It comes when it comes.
It does. It really does, right?
On the faucet, Ryan, and you know that. And
I know.
Great riffs are just it's a gift from God. It really is.
I'm actually still releasing singles from my solo album. Imagine Your Reality. Every song in the album is going to be a single. So we have the 10th and final one. So that's going to motivate me to actually make a new record now. But I'm just curious, because you have so many album releases, so much product. When people come to the batting cage, what is the majority of the stuff that people have you sign? From what band? Or is it all mixed?
It's a lot of the fans. A lot of my fans have become cross fans in all the genres, into the punk and the power metal, which I've been given credit for helping to form. And so a lot of Dictator fans, a lot of Manowar fans, a lot of heavy metal fans. That one, right?
It's a great album cover.
Yeah, that's Andrew WK remixed. That's Andrew WK. That was the special release. He remixed 4 songs for us, and that's the special re-release of that record.
Love it. Well, and even this year, talk about being an ambassador to different types of bands and different types of music. You appeared on a band that we know and we support on the In the Trenches podcast, Burning Witches. You played on Battle Hymn, and that's from their Dance with the Devil album. How did they approach you? Did you approach them?
Well, they approached us. They approached me, and they were going to be the opening act on the Born of Fire tour, because Born of Fire came out March 6th, and then we had a whole Euro tour in April. Burning Witches was going to be the opening act for that. Yeah, that's the record. That's an incredible record, by the way. And
that came out this year as well. So not only did the Death Dealer album come out just now, but this Ross the Boss Born of Fire also came out this year.
Yeah.
And until the shit show happened, you guys were all ready to go on tour with Burning Witches.
Right. And it happened, and everything just hit the shitter. And so that tour was rescheduled for November, December now. I was supposed to be in Europe now doing it, and that got canceled. And all the summer festival shows got canceled, as you know. And, because RTB had Sweden Rock and Big Gun and all these, everything got canceled. Okay, so let's go for 2021. So, I have a whole bunch of stuff in April, and then I have me and my singer Mark Lopes from Roast the Boss Band. I got 13 shows in Russia with orchestras, different cities.
Wow. Cool.
Is going to join us, and
Udo from Accept.
Uli Roth.
Oh, Uli Roth. Okay, guitarist, another great guitarist. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we'll see if that happens. I think the Russian orchestra thing will happen, but I don't know about the Spanish stuff in April. And I big festivals.
Yeah,
like we got Sweden Rock again. We had it last year. They canceled. So Sweden Rock's supposed to be on, but my agent is telling me that he doesn't know about the big festivals again this year. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Hey man, fingers crossed. You know what? Anything that happens, you'll be busy. I know you'll be busy doing something, right? You know,
Yeah.
and maybe the next album cover could have like a guy shirtless, but just with his fingers crossed, you know, riding a, centaur.
I know there's a lot of pent up anger and a lot of pent up frustration and a lot of good people that aren't working. And, I mean, thank God I have a business, really. And
that's great.
Right. And, but there's a lot of folks that are hurting, and my heart goes out. I did a song for Live Nation, Crew Nation, this summer to raise money for the Crew Nations, and it was a reissue. I redid acoustically "Heart of Steel" by Manowar off the Kings of Metal record, and it's done really well. And I hope all that money goes to
Can people still get that record, and can they find it? And do we have a link for it? Maybe Vic can put it up at some point.
That's the original record, and Heart of Steel. Yeah. I did an acoustic version, and I'm very proud of it. And the leads are all done on Spanish guitar and acoustic, and it's
there. It is. Once again, showing your versatility, and probably going to show me the guitar right now. I love it. We are hanging out, folks, with Ross the Boss. There it is. That's the guitar. It's a cutaway. Yeah.
Jose Ramirez.
Oops. Oh, you're in E flat. Yeah.
Incredible.
You might be tuned down a half step. So I want to get real back to festival, real quick festival view. We'll take a quick commercial break. And thank you for everybody for hanging out in the trenches in the chat. You are listening to a live stream episode of In the Trenches. We have our guests today from the Dictators, Manowar, so many more bands. He's just, him as Ross the Boss. He's hanging out with us. And I have a new section. It's called We Know You're Great, but how does this interview affect me? So it's a new segment we're putting together for no apparent reason except for extreme ego and malicious YouTube comments. So everyone can say, oh, what a jerk that host was. All he does is shut up.
You're asking for it on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm asking for it. I know it. But here's how this interview affects me, because I remember going back to that band Shakin' Street. When I remember as a kid growing up in the Bay Area, there was these concerts called Day on the Green. And one of the first concerts that I ever went to in my life was July 27th, 1980, one of the first big festival concerts. Headlining was Journey. You had Black Sabbath, Cheap Trick,
yep.
Molly Hatchet,
yep.
And it was supposed to be, I think, the Angels from Australia, but they got something happened with the visas, maybe something clever happened, and guess what? Shakin' Street. Was that the first big show, or had you done some before?
No, we were doing a lot of big places with Blue Oyster Cult because we had the same manager, and so what it was JoJo Zepp and the Falcons.
Aha.
So at 9 a.m, and it was sold out. Day on the Green, Oakland Stadium. There was 100 and something thousand people there at 9 o'clock.
I was
9 o'clock in the morning. It was sold out. I never forget it. And they didn't go over very well. I think they got booed off the stage, unfortunately. And then I'm like going, oh, I hope we're not next. And then Shakin' Street went on and blew the place apart. And and they were the crowd just went crazy. For Fabienne, there's a lead singer, beautiful French girl. She came out with a Oakland Raiders jersey on, tight as shit, and like the place went berserk. And that was it. That was a great day for us. A great day.
I was 15 years old. I went to the concert. I remember watching you. I was in the front row. I saw you guys, and then I have an 8mm camera. I still have 8mm footage of you guys in Cheap Trick. And then at that point, my 3 minutes of 8mm film ran out, so I couldn't film anybody else. And that's all I could handle in the front. But it was a great show. So there you go.
That was wow! I can't believe you were at that one. I got pictures of that. Great day for rock and roll, and all I know is like I wish for those days again in America. I don't think we'll ever see those big stadium shows with rock and roll like that again. Or maybe like Guns N' Roses, and they have something planned, and Joan Jett, but I hope they do it. But I mean, it was like Bill Graham. Yeah, that's Shakin' Street. That's my shoe up there. That was from that was from LA. We took a picture there. What was it?
When you say your shoe?
That was my sneaker.
Oh, where?
Left side.
Oh, that's your sneaker. Okay, I see it. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
you got your sneaker in there, man.
Starwood in Los Angeles. We took that picture.
That's a killer club. That's like one of those clubs that has so much history. I missed that whole era of it. I think I moved down, but they still had the Troubadour. They still had the Roxy, and the Starwood was gone.
Yeah, we just played the Whiskey in February. It was one of our last shows on the RTB tour, North American, before the shit show.
Before the shit show. Well, I'm hoping vaccine. I'm hoping, touring again, coming back. But you're right, man. It's scary to think about those big Coliseum shows. How many people are going to be jumping back into those pits, until things are sorted out?
Everybody's confident and everybody's immune. And hopefully we can get back to doing what we do and working. And we just want to work. We just want to play. And that's what we do. That's who we are. That's who you are. That's who I am. And we want to, entertain people. We want to make music for people. We want to, uplift people. And that's all we've ever wanted to do in life. And I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen again. It's just, I take every day. That's why I work so hard. Every day is just head to the grindstone for me. And that's how it produced all that stuff, So we got to keep going and everybody be optimistic. And there's a lot of great scientists and medical people working on this. And they've never had a cure so fast.
Yep.
And a vaccine has never come so fast in 8 months. It's unheard of. Usually it takes 5 years. No, it's insane. But it's going to happen.
Next time we'll see each other, we'll be backstage somewhere.
What's that? They started in England already today.
Yeah. I just read about that. Yeah. Well, the next time we see each other, you won't be in your man cave. I won't be in some sort of hotel room with trying to makeshift studio and stuff. We'll be somewhere at somebody's show, and we'll be embracing. So right now, I'm going to take if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
No, I don't want to lose you. I'm going to take a real quick commercial break right now, folks, because guess what we're going to do now? We're here with Ross the Boss. He's inspired us to all play guitar and to work and keep working. We're coming back with just a few more segments. Of course, Let the People Speak is coming up. But first, I thought, and I'm going to put this on, Vic, I'm going to lay it out here. I thought that we'd put Dave Rattenbury, one of the System 12 team members. I thought we'd just play his System 12 Week 2 challenge video. It's only about a minute now, folks, but for those of you out there that are learning guitar with the System 12 right now, here's all your shortcuts. Here's all your tips for this week's challenge. And if you want to start learning guitar, of course, ryanroxie.com/system12. And we want as many people playing guitar. I'm sure Ross has inspired many people over the years to pick up the guitar and rock, just like he's still doing, and as well as playing baseball. But Vic, can we run that clip of System 12 Week Challenge with Dave right now? And here we go.
Hey guys, Dave here, and it's now week 2 of the System 12 Week Challenge. The Magnificent 7 up and down the A string, to learn your octaves, and also to learn your second song, Wild Thing by the Trogs. We want you to put a special focus this week on learning those 7 notes. Now it may seem a bit daunting, but you're laying some really valuable groundwork for future playing. When learning Wild Thing, pay close attention to that rhythm on the main riff. So for a bit of extra credit, once you've learned the 7 notes going up the A string, can you say them going up the A string and down the A string? It's a little extra work, but it's worth it. Our recommendation for practice is that you spend about 10 minutes each day just trying to memorize the 7 notes and play through Wild Thing a couple of times. Good luck, and we'll see you for lesson 3.
There you go. That's system. It's week 2 of System 12 Guitar Challenge, and here we are back with Ross the Boss, guitarist extraordinaire. Very inspiring show today. Love having you on. Not only do I love having you on, and Vic Chalfon, our illustrious producer, likes having you on because he gets to put all these pictures up of you guys through all the different bands. But it's time for the people to show their love, because we have a section now where we asked questions through the week. We wanted the fans, we wanted the followers to ask important questions for our guest, Ross the Boss. It's a section we like to call Let the People Speak. Vic? Well, there you go. Our first question is up from @Matt_Gothic. He'd like to know more about the collaboration with KK Downing at Bloodstock.
Excellent question. Yes, a friend of mine was friends with him, and I had a spot on the Bloodstock Festival last year, and I go, why don't you ask KK if he wants to come around and hang around with us, have a beer? And I know he lives by Bloodstock Fest. I know he lives there in the Midlands, and he goes, oh, I'll ask him. I go, yeah. I go, he's friendly. I go, why don't you ask him if he wants to play with us? He would like to play a guest spot. And then I didn't get a no. And so all
that's good.
He keeps working on KK, and he goes, he's interested. I go, he is? I go, we'll take a section of our set and we'll play some Judas Priest stuff for him. Because I know he hadn't played in public since he had left Judas Priest. And I said, it's perfect. It's his neighborhood. Let him come. Let him get some love. Let him get some love from the fans. So he has a club and KK Steel Mill. So we went and practiced in KK Steel Mill for 2 days. We worked up 5 songs. And we did our set. We brought KK on. The place went berserk. And he did great. He looked great. He sounded great. And I said, whatever it brings, it's a great thing. It's in Jewish. I'm Jewish. I go, it's a mitzvah. Whatever this brings. If he wants to play with us, he wants to do some shows with us. If he can get back into Judas Priest, if he could do something musically, he needs
doors open.
He needs to be heard, because KK Downing is a great guy. And so what happened was, he was so excited about playing, he didn't want to tour. He didn't want to, hit the vans with us, or the buses or whatever it was. And so Judas Priest it's not going to happen. I don't think there's too much stuff on there. And I said, I don't want to know about that. I don't know what's going. It's none of my business. I just want to bring you out and play. I just have a great time. And so what he did, he started his own band with Tim Ripper Owens, and he's doing KK's Priest. And he gives me credit for bringing him back into the music. And
once again, man, the ambassador of punk rock, heavy metal, and just bringing people back into the fold. I love it. Good job, man. Well, let's move on now with another question from @Daniela Lenendi. There you go. The things you won't miss doing in 2021. Because obviously we've had to do a lot of stuff in 2020. What won't you miss doing in 2021?
Walking around with a mask on.
Here it is, folks. 1, 2, 3, triple layers here in Los Angeles, dude. I'm more layered than Ross the Boss's hair. You got yours on right now?
Yeah. But I won't miss doing that, and I won't miss hearing about it, because I'm overdosed on this shit, and I know it's horrible, and people are losing their lives, and it's nothing funny about this, but I've had it up to here with it.
I understand, man. We actually have a rule usually on the podcast where we say there's no C word. We never bring up the C word. Everyone outside of this podcast, it's ubiquitous. But inside here, it's a C word free zone. So it's a C free zone, I guess you could say. So let's move on to @Anna.rockandroll. She has a question. Do you have plans to come to Russia? I think you mentioned that earlier.
Anna, I can safely say that I'm coming to Russia. If it all goes well, I will be there in June. And we're playing with the different orchestras Well, Essentuki, Rostov-on-Don, Krasnodar, Volgograd, Kazan, Nizhny, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Minsk, Kiev, Odessa. That's Ukraine. But we're coming.
You're going deep, dude. You're going on the.
We're coming like Christmas.
You're going into those markets that only have Russian letters. You know, like we call it with Alice Cooper, it's like we play the, anything after the A, B, and C, we'll play the F, G, D, you're playing actual letters that are just in the Russian alphabet alone. So I love it.
We'll be playing with orchestras, the local orchestra. We have to go in a day before, rehearse with the orchestra, and then play every show. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be, I think, a joyous thing. I'm going to play 4 Manowar songs with my singer, and then I'll watch Uli Roth, and I'll watch whoever else is on tour. And I know Marco Mendoza's coming, and so, awesome. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, if you need a rhythm guitar player, I need to work. Come on. I'd love to back you up. At Justin Youngblood asks, and there's another guitar player that will probably want the work as well. What do your warm-ups consist of when you first pick up the guitar for the day? That's a good question.
That's an excellent question. As I said before, you don't want to get into a rut of practicing and over-practicing. So what I do is I just make sure my hands are kind of stretched. You don't want to stretch too much. You want to make sure everything is warmed up. Your tendons, your the forearms and everything in there. Stand up, stretch out a little bit. Just don't be stagnant. Stretch yourself out like you're going to go into a ball game or something like that. Then you pick your guitar up. Once you start, get a little circulation going, because I notice a lot of people just that they're not, their blood isn't flowing, and so I think it's better for your brain. Then you can sit down or put the guitar around your shoulders. Then warm up with your scales. Go through your scales progressions. Go on, speed it up, speed it up, speed it up, speed it up, speed it up until you're hitting them all. Your picking is perfect, or as perfect as you can get it, and then off to the races.
Do you embrace the pentatonic? Because I tell people you got to embrace the pentatonic. What's your scales that you are talking about?
I do the pentatonic a lot. I mean, I'm a rock and roll guitar player, blues guitar player, basically a blues guitar player from the, and I'm just I zig off it for a while. I'm not so infatuated with all the insane scales and everything, because it has no place in my music. It really. I mean, I throw stuff in as a change up, but another baseball term. I throw it in, but I'm not. I'm not married to all those scales like some guys are.
Modes and stuff like that.
When I'm listening to Chuck Berry and B.B. King, I said, well, these guys aren't. And Angus Young, I mean, those guys, Angus Young's my contemporary. I mean, it's like we started together. I mean, I'm friends with him. I saw this is like, rock and roll. I mean, just like plug in, go on stage, plug in, turn it the hell up, and so, but anything that works for you, I'm not saying that don't do it, but if it works for you, do it. Okay, I do what works for me. You do what works for you, and I'm sure a lot of everybody.
I like that idea of stretching up and getting people to just not dive in. It's just kind of like stretching before you work out a regular physical.
That's right. Get yourself into the nice mood, in a good mood, and then get your blood flowing, and then work out, and then start playing. I think you'll find that if you're warmed up a little better, you'll get better results out of your practice.
You got it. All right. So at Luke Wilkington is asking up the next question now, and I think we might have answered it a little bit, but when did you get into the guitar and why? That's at Luke Wilkington. I don't know. He doesn't have it. Well, but when did you get into the guitar and why?
After I gave up violin in order to meet girls, I mean, to be more attractive, I gave up the violin because I was just a nerd. And then I said, with glasses, then I picked up guitar and started playing. And then the first guitar I got.
Here it is. The unveiling.
Guitar I got was this one.
Wow.
SG Custom. And this is
Triple
the one.
pickup.
Yeah. SG Custom. This is the first real guitar I got. And my father made me take out a bank loan for it. And I bought it from my friend's brother. And I still play it. It's made so many records. It made Go Girl Crazy, made a ton of records. And this is the guitar that made Manowar's first record. I mean, it's made a lot of records, this guitar. And
it looks in relatively good condition for like being on so many albums.
It sounds really good. It's an amazing guitar. And actually,
tuned to 8440.
Actually, Steve Bader.
Oh, that's nice. He cracked it.
He knocked it off the stand. We were playing with the Dead Boys in Cheap Trick in Ohio somewhere, and he walked by. He was screwed up, and he knocked it
Go
off.
ahead. We're on the internet.
But we repaired it better than it's perfect. It's really. But that's the only thing that ever happened to this baby, and I've had it all my life. I've had it since 1968. This is a 1964 Les Paul SG Custom.
Honestly, I can honestly say that you can never say that you're a true Gibson guitar player unless you've broken at least one guitar neck on a Gibson Les Paul or SG or 335. Because I think I've done the trifecta. I've definitely broken those, and they always break right around here, around the volute, which is like, that's the classic place. But I could see yours kind of. Steve Bader really did a number on yours, man. Wow.
Yep. And the look on his face was equally as horrifying as my look. But luckily I had other guitars on the road. But he was.
Let me guess. It was on a guitar stand. There was a cord on the ground. His foot hit the cord, and things went poof. Is that the classic story or what?
Probably. But the one thing that what I found out about Richie Blackmore.
Okay.
If the guitar is on the ground, there's nowhere for it to go. So he doesn't use guitar stands. His crew might, but he never uses guitar stands. He just plucks it up against the amp. Yeah. I mean, if it's on the ground already, there's really nowhere for it to go.
That's science. That's physics, baby.
Man is genius.
It's not just entertaining, it's educational here in the trenches, man. And we
all on Ryan's show, baby. You get the whole 9 yards.
In the trenches, man. We're dropping science, and we actually are still letting the people speak because we have just a couple more at Evita02. This I thought was a cool question. Do you have a favorite song or solo that you enjoy playing? Of all the repertoires that you have, all the different styles, all the songs that you play night after night after night with all the different bands, is there one or two that you say, this is my song, I like my go-to song or my go-to solo?
Well, a lot depends on who I'm playing with and what band is out on tour. So if it's RTB band, Ross the Boss band, I would say that, I don't know, on the past tour, it was Denied by the Cross. My solo on that record is just ferocious, right? And the Manowar stuff. Let's say I would do Wheels of Fire. That's a super fast. Just a zillion beats a minute. And then with the Dictators, I would say Who Will Save Rock and Roll. And with Death Dealer, I don't know because the tour hasn't started yet. So,
but you got 5 albums in the can almost at this point. Right. So we'll see.
The thing about Death Dealer, we'll tour on 2 records. We'll have Death Dealer 3 and 4 to tour on next year. Hopefully.
Perfect. Well, there you go. One more question from Let the People Speak is from at CDox37. What do you suggest for a good 70s fuzz tone or good metal crunch tone? You seem to have that great guitar tone. No matter what band you're in, you truly have a good guitar sound.
I'm going to give you a little bit of RTB trivia. I've never used an effect pedal in my life. I just plug right into the amp. Straight into the amp. All I have is a guitar tuner. And people have been looking.
You saved a lot of battery costs over the years.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And there's always something to step on and break. But I'm not saying I'm not saying it's for everybody to do what I do. But as Angus Young would do, we just 70s guitar players. We just plug straight into the amp. I mean, I know some guys use wah-wah pedal, which is great. I have a Vox wah-wah pedal, and but that's more like a physical. That's more like a physical thing with the wah-wah pedal. It's like hitting
You're working it.
I recommend, there are great pedals out there, and Angle, by the way, Angle makes a great pedal for
that's fuzz tone and stuff.
You have a small amp and you don't want to light up a half stack in your house.
Well, RTB style, what's your amp of choice then? Because we'll move really quickly, because that is a caveat of that. Have you always been a Marshall guy, or did you just enjoy the cabinets, or what have you been shifting towards?
I always played through Marshalls. Even was the Marshall Major with the four inputs, and we crossed the channels. There was no crunch on there. Was no gain back then, and then they made the ones with the gain and the 800, and the ones that I bought had gain on it. It was the Marshall 800s, and I had 7 of them, and then which were all customized up and jacked up. But I play, my amp today is the Angle. I'm an endorser of Angle, which I think that and the EVH are the best amps in the world. Mr. Amplifiers, and who I pay extreme homage to. Yes. Yep. Bless them. And I think the Angle, I use the Powerball 2, which is a very versatile amp. Great. If you listen to my new record, you can hear it. And great record, a great sound. It's a great sound, the Angle. It's got a lot of headroom. It's this super, super well engineered German engineering.
Nice. Well, people are going to have to come up and check out your live rig at a show near you. You have one more question, a bonus question, if you will, from Anders. He's a longtime listener. Can I go back to that real quick? Does Ross the Boss use sweatbands for his wrist?
No.
I don't like. He's referring to mine.
I really, when I'm on stage, I don't like anything on my wrist or my fingers. I don't.
I use these red, white, and blue ones. It's more for show. More for show.
It absorbs sweat. A lot of guys like that on their wrist. It just gives them a little bit of because I know guys sweat like pigs on stage. Some of us. And it just especially in the summertime when you're like on stage and it's like 98 on stage and like it's like forget it, and which has happened to you and me. So. Oh yeah.
Well, there's a line out of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Guns for a pro, wristbands for show. I don't know. Or maybe it was knives. No. Guns for show, knives for a pro. That's what it was. I knew it was something like that. But there is our Let the People Speak segment. Ross the Boss, one more section before we let you go and you go back into the studio and start recording more. But this is a nice thing we like to call, and there's only one question today on the podcast. And thanks everybody for chiming in the whole entire episode with all these great comments that you've been sort of typing in. Oh my God, that's right. I'm sorry. Vic Chalfant had a question. Our producer told me that he was going to have a question for you, and I didn't have it in my script because Vic Chalfant should have typed it in my script, but he didn't. That's okay. Your album covers are always amazing, Vic Chalfant says. Can you tell us anything about who chooses a cover and who creates them? I think that is a great question.
Well, we start out with the artist. We choose the artist, and we tell them what we're thinking. We give him a concept, and then he comes forth with a couple of ideas, rough sketches, and then we take it from there. And then we say, yeah, that's it. That's not it, and
Well, for instance, that Marvel artist that you had, how did he approach you? Did you approach him, or was it a collaborative with the record label?
Well, no, the record label had nothing to do with that. We got in touch with Ken Landgraf, and I said, look, I grew up on Marvel Comics, man. I grew up on Thor. I grew up on Spider-Man and all those guys in the great Marvel Comics. I grew up on that. I grew up on Norse mythology and stuff like that. So yeah, well, that was another. Yeah. So he did that. That was the only cover he did for Manowar, was Hail to England. Strangely, that was a different guy, right? Yeah, that was a different artist.
But it's all great work, And Vic makes a really good point that all the artists that you work for really sort of reflect the albums and the sort of attitude coming off the albums.
It has to. You got to know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, when you see the cover, I mean, it's like it's like a metal cover. If it's a metal cover, my album, my RTB and Death Dealer, it's going to be metal. I mean, pretty much power metal.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what you're going to get from the Dictators as well. You're going to get, New York City Gutter Street, and so.
Well, the sort of common line is attitude. You're going to get some attitude on every release that you put in, because you put in the work for it. Haircut and attitude, which we both might need a haircut at one point after this pandemic is over. But check it out. Now it's time for Never Let the Truth Get in the Way of a Good Story. And at one point, we're going to have a really good introduction for this. We're going to make a segment sort of intro for it. But maybe, do we have one for us this week, Vic? No, we don't. Okay. So the thing is about Never Let the Truth Get in the Way of a Good Story. It's something that Alice Cooper uses all the time. We're on the bus, and he'll tell a story, and he'll start to embellish a little bit, and then he'll say, wait, Roxie, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So we thought we'd put a little segment of that here in our show. I want to know, I know you probably mentioned it and probably explained it a million times, but our fans, our folks in the chat, people listening in their cars right now, what is the true story of the name Ross the Boss?
Well, I'll tell you. Growing up in the Bronx, we used to play sports every day. That's all we did after school. So we go to the schoolyard, and that was where we grew up, in schoolyards. And we would choose sides. We would play either stickball, or we would play tackle football on concrete without equipment, and we would play. We would do something. And so like one day, my friend goes, we were choosing up sides, and he goes, pick Ross, he's the boss. I mean, and I was like,
the skies parted,
and then fact, and then
that, folks, this is the fact. This is the reason why Ross the Boss is a purely factual. Continue.
But when it really took hold is when the first Dictators record, we said, look, we're a bunch of Jewish kids from the Bronx, and Ross Friedman and Richard Blum and Andy Chernoff and Scott Camp, and those names are not. It just doesn't, it doesn't instill rock and roll in, But there have been great Jewish rock and roll musicians from New York, Steve Katz and Mike Bloomfield and.
But you guys you were in a band called The Dictators, so you needed stage names that just would compete with that. Is that where it really started to shine?
So I said Ross the Boss, and that's what it's been since 1975. There you go. Yep. That's it. Dictators. And that's what it's been. Ross the Boss. I mean,
1975 to 2020, folks. That is the factual story, folks, of Ross the Boss.
I think it's hurt me professionally.
Right.
People think that I'm like because people think, is this guy a clown? Is this guy, there's only one boss, it's Bruce Springsteen. And it's like, I said, but it's, you gotta have a little sense of humor about things in life. I mean, let's say Ross the Boss. I mean, come on. It's like, I'm not saying it because I'm not saying it because I think that's the way it is. I've been given that name, so I'm like, I'll always be Ross. I mean, till the day I die. I mean, and looking back on it, I wish could have been like Ross Presley or Ross Page or Ross Beck. I mean, something like that. But we are who we are, and
right. People are embracing Ross the Boss, and they have been, will do, and shall for the rest of our time. And we are almost out of time. What'd you say?
To know me is to love me.
There you go. Well, I came up with Ryan Roxie because I didn't want a really long, for one, the long Polish name, Ryan Roxie, would just not fit on any sort of venue or any sort of marquee. So I shortened it to Roxie. And you know what? Hey, I've been called a poser ever since. But guess what? I'm a professional poser.
There you go. And Vince Fournier had an idea about his name too.
That is true. Seemed to work out for him as well. Yeah. So, Ross the Boss, we are heading out to the highway. This is where for those that are listening to us on our audio broadcast, which we're very happy about, thank you very much for listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever audio is of your choice. But if you'd like to see the video, see the lovely mugs, make sure you make your way on over to Ryan Roxie Official on the YouTube and hit that subscribe button. But will you please tell us your social medias that you would like people to follow you at when they want to find out more about Ross the Boss and the plethora of bands that you are involved with?
Yes, I have my website, ross-the-.com, because Ross the Boss was taken by hair products. But so ross-the-boss.com, and we're on Facebook, of course. Ross Friedman is Ross the Boss. So you can find me, my personal page. Then you can find the Ross the Boss Band. And then you can find Death Dealer on Facebook, Crackbook. And then you can find anything you want. How to toast bread, you can find anything you want. That's right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vic. And then Instagram, and the whole plethora of stuff. If you go to that, that'll lead you to everywhere else. And I appreciate the support, and I just send my love to everybody and send patience, and everybody will be back.
Guess what? This is perfect timing, because in the hotel, I got a letter saying that there's going to be fire alarm tests all throughout the day, starting at a certain time. And I guess that would be right about now, Funk Soul Brother. So it's time for us to sort of wrap things up. We've been hanging out with Ross the Boss and talking stories, The Dictators, Manowar, Death Dealer, Ross the Boss Band, so many more. You got to go back and check out the whole entire episode. As we always leave with some final parting words, I usually end with my go-to saying. Do you have any sort of words that you live by that you'd like to pass on to the crowd? And do you have any sort of saying like that?
Wake up every day with a plan.
I like it. There it is. Wake up every day, folks, with a plan. And the plan today was to have a great episode of In the Trenches with our guest, Ross the Boss. Thank you very much, Ross. Thank you, everybody that's been in the chat the entire episode. Ross, I really hope that we'll cross paths in 2021 at some sort of backstage. And if not, I'd love for you to come back on the show again, and we can catch up once things are arrive and kicking. All right?
It would be an honor to do so. And I'm sure we're going to cross paths. I hope so. I really do. I pray for it every day. And,
Well, thank you very much, Ross. Thank you, everybody that's listening. Until next time, folks, I'm Ryan Roxie. You've been listening to In the Trenches. Enjoy the ride.
In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.